In this video, we're going to look at defining rules on the CAS calculator. A rule can be defined to make it more efficient to work with them using a CAS calculator. To define a rule, start by typing the rule into the main menu. Highlight the rule and then go Interactive and Define. Name the rule, which is the function, so it's called a function in a CAS calculator, using a letter from the ABC keyboard. So that's really important. Next, check that the correct variables are listed, and if you need to change it, use the variable keyboard to change. Finally, press OK and the screen should display a done message. The rule f of x can now be used with the commands on the CAS calculator. In this video, we're going to look at how you can substitute x equals a value a by typing f of a into the main screen. And we're also going to look at how you can use the solve command by going interactive equation inequality solve to solve an equation that you have defined. There's many other commands you can also use, and we'll explore these in other sections. So once again, it's really important to make sure you use the correct keyboard to name the function and to use the variable keyboard when you're describing a variable. So define the rule g of x equals x squared minus 6x on a CAS calculator. For part A, we want to evaluate each of the following. So for part 1, we're going to evaluate g when x is equal to -2, which we use this notation g of -2 to display that. On the CAS calculator, go into the main menu. What we want to do now is type in the function g of x, which is x to the power of 2 minus 6x, and hit execute. So that shows that we've typed it incorrectly. Next, we want to highlight that and go interactive, define, and now the function name, it's automatically come up as f, but we are calling it g in this question. So we go to the ABC keyboard, not the variables, but the ABC, and press G, and then hit OK. So it says that we've now defined g of x as x squared minus 6x, and that's done. To find the value at -2, we drag the g of x down and replace the x with -2, and hit execute. Therefore, g of -2 equals 16. Then we drag it down and we replace the -2 with 0, and hit execute. Therefore, g of 0 is equal to 0. Dragging it down again, we replace the 0 with 3 this time and press execute. Therefore, g of 3 is equal to -9. Next, we drag it down and replace the 3 with 4.5 and hit execute. Therefore, g of 4.5 is equal to -27 divided by 4. And then we drag it down one more time and replace 4.5 with 6 and hit execute. Therefore, g of 6 is equal to 0. For part B, we want to solve each of the following equations for x. So for part I, we want to solve g of x equals -1. For part B, we still have our function g of x defined as x squared minus 6x. And now we can drag our g of x down, which contains that information, and we can set it equal to -1 for part I. Then to solve that, we're going to go and highlight it and go interactive, equation inequality, and solve, and then check that we're solving for the variable x, so that's fine, and press OK, and that gives us our solutions. Therefore, the values of x that satisfy that equation are x is equal to -2 times √2 plus 3, and x is equal to +2 times √2 plus 3. So once again, we can drag the g of x down, and we can set that equal to 0 for part 2. Highlight that and go interactive, equation inequality, solve, and then for x, hit OK, and that gives us our solutions. Therefore, the values of x that satisfy that equation are x equals 0 and x equals 6. Those solutions there have also appeared here and here previously. So we can see that when the function g is equal to 0, the values of 0 and 6 for x were responsible for that. So that 0 and that 6 is this 0 and this 6. For part 3, we want to solve g of x is equal to 7. And we can drag our g of x down one more time and set that equal to 7. If we highlight that and go interactive equation inequality solve. Make sure we're solving for x and hit OK. We get our solutions for g of x equals 7. Therefore, the values of x that satisfy that equation are x is equal to -1 and x is equal to 7. After this video, you should be able to define a rule on a CAS calculator, substitute values into a formula to find the value of another quantity, and you should be able to solve equations using a CAS calculator.